Hey everybody, welcome to today's show. My name is Jonathan. As always, joined by three of my friends and co-workers here at Masters, Al, the Doc, John Beast. What's up, guys?
How we doing?
How we doing?
Oh, real good, man. Super excited for today's show. Before we get into it, any of our subscribers, YouTube or podcast, just want to thank you guys so much. Anybody that hasn't subscribed yet, what are you waiting for, man? Come be a part of the Masters family with us. We'd love to have you. One of the largest collections of Dynasty leagues anywhere, if not the largest. I'm going to jump right into today's show, though. I think it's one of the hottest topics in Dynasty fantasy football. A question that we're all dying to know, racking our brains. Who's going to be the number one pick this year in Dynasty Rookie Drafts? But more importantly, we'd love for you guys to give us your input too. If you like one of the guys we say, maybe let us know. If you think it's someone else, leave a comment. Tell us who you think the number one pick is going to be. We'd love to start that discussion right here, right now with you. I'm going to jump right into it though. Who wants to go first? Pull out your crystal ball. Who's going to be the number one pick in Dynasty drafts this year?
If you're had the number one pick, you probably have your team's not that strong. That's why you have the number one pick. Unless you have Patrick Mahomes as your quarterback, unless you have Kyler Murray, I think it's got to be Trevor Lawrence. And I go back to Andrew Luck. I go back to Peyton Manning. You go back to Aaron Rodgers. You go back to John Elway. These guys, not Aaron Rodgers. Not that he's not great. He is great. But John Elway, these guys that come out with all this, Baker Mayfield did not have this type of hype. Patrick Mahomes did not have this type of hype. And these guys have never missed this type of quarterback. And you can have him for 15 years in your starting lineup. And the quarterback, it's I know it's downplayed, and I know I talk about the quarterbacks a lot, but it's the most important position in fantasy football, and this guy can still, Patrick Mahomes, last year Josh Allen scored over 30 points 8 times. And a top-end quarterback, they can win you 4 or 5 games a year.
Absolutely.
I think Trevor Lawrence is that type of player. And I think, just from everything that I've read, he's that type of player. He's been, for the last 3 years, it's like, hey, this is the guy. And I think that unless you're Patrick Mahomes and on your roster, I think that's what you should be looking at.
Yeah, I think it's a hot take, and obviously he's going to be the number one pick in Superflex leagues. These leagues are not Superflex. I'm dying to ask these guys here, do you give any consideration to Lawrence at the one spot?
So usually I'm against that logic, but I think Trevor Lawrence is special, and really just the era we're in now is different because I feel like over the last 5 years the late round QB was kind of the cool thing to do, and just start and plug anyone. It's all about the running backs and receivers. But the truth is, the difference makers in games now is the quarterbacks. You mentioned Josh Allen putting up over 30 points 8 times. If you were playing against Josh Allen one of those 8 times, chances are you lost.
Chances are you lost.
I feel like the quarterback position does matter. Obviously it matters, but I feel like it's back to being one of the most important things where over the last 3 years I think running back had kind of really taken over.
I think of the talent that he's got there. He's got Laviska Shenault, he's got DJ Chark, he's got James Robinson.
And a really good offensive line.
And a really good offensive line.
But I think that even the more just crazy thing to wrap your head around, and it's not wrong. You said he could be starting for the next 15 years. Imagine having a guy like Tom Brady from day one until 20 years later now. Obviously, from a fantasy perspective, Tom Brady never had the upside of Trevor Lawrence brings, but just the longevity. Think about how many different franchise running backs you could go through and throughout his career.
So one of our leagues, Michigan 2.
Yeah.
This guy, he drafted Russell Wilson in the 3rd round. This was 2012. He's won every year. He won 8 years in a row. This year, he did come in 2nd.
Wow.
With Russell Wilson.
Wow. Yeah.
That's
crazy.
awesome.
It's crazy. It is crazy.
Here's an odd thought, I'm sitting here imagining that, it's year 2035, and I'm still clicking away on Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's a crazy thought. There won't be a running back you're still clicking.
And think about all the other running backs and
Right.
receivers you can take a shot on in the next 15 years because you have your sure thing at quarterback. There's a lot of value in that, and it's hard to argue with it.
Yeah, I think it's a great take. I think this will be one of the first years where we see that in our leagues, a quarterback going at 1.1. I don't know if it'll be predominant. I don't think it'll be in most leagues.
Yeah.
But I think we will see it.
You're talking about the rookie draft.
Yeah.
But I bet in startup drafts, you're seeing Mahomes go 1.1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm not.
Yeah.
It was probably it was CMC most of the time, or
And-
Saquon, but
Yeah.
but it wouldn't be a shocker to see Mahomes go 1 or
Right.
2, or Lamar Jackson this year.
Yeah.
I mean, and think about it. I mean, CMC, what, 5 more years tops? You're talking
Yeah.
15
Right.
years.
Up to
Yeah.
29.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Tops.
I know the draft class back then wasn't as good as this one in terms of the top end, but Kyler Murray went 1.4 quite often, and no one's regretting that. I took him 1.4 in a league, and I don't wish I would have taken someone else. I'm very happy with the Kyler Murray investment.
Yeah, and Kyler, to what John B said, Kyler was never the prospect that Trevor Lawrence
Not
is.
even close.
So if Lawrence lives up to the hype, which, I mean, you would think he would just based on what he's done at every single level, I mean, yeah, you're getting an absolute star for 15 years. I mean, the longevity is hard to argue.
I think it's real simple. Just click the button.
Yeah.
Just be done. It's easy. Move on. Go
Set the
have
auto
breakfast.
draft. You don't even have to click
Right.
it. You
Yeah.
set it up the week before, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Put your pre-draft picks
Yeah,
in
there
and
you
just let it ride.
And your draft mates will love you because your draft will go faster, and you won't be sitting on the clock for 7 hours.
There you go.
Everyone wins.
All right, you guys want to go or you want me to go? Okay, I'll go. So for me, I think the number 1 pick, and I made this mistake last year, and even though he wasn't the number 1 receiver, Justin Jefferson was, looking back now, if I had the number 1 pick, I wish I would have taken CeeDee Lamb. This year, I'm thinking the same thought process that I have now about last season. I'm going 100% in on the guy that I think is the number 1 receiver in the draft, despite how great another receiver that we're going to talk about eventually was this season. I'm going with Jamar Chase as the number 1. I don't care where he goes. He's the best receiver in the draft to me, and I think he's going to be an elite weapon throughout the league for the next 10 years. And again, it's similar to the longevity that Trevor Lawrence brings, obviously not quite as long, but comparing it to like the running backs, we've had this discussion quite a few times where, it's kind of shifting towards I'll take a receiver that I can have for 10 years versus a running back I might only have for 5. And I think Jamar Chase is going to be, like I said, an elite talent in this league. I mean, he's got all the tools. We've talked about it. Go listen to our Dynasty Spotlight series if you're interested in hearing a little more about him. But, yeah, I think, forget the running backs, the other receivers. I'm going to go with what I know, and that's Jamar Chase. I know he's the best receiver in my heart, as good as Devontae Smith was this year. And I think that's the guy you got to take number 1, no matter what. The talent will show itself.
What if the Jets take him at 2?
Sam Darnold's got to throw it to somebody.
That's a bold call.
Yeah, I'd have to take him. It's hard not to. I mean, I wasn't a huge Dak guy. Obviously, he's better than Sam Darnold, but situation sometimes muddies things, and situation got me Alvin Kamara in the 2nd round of a rookie draft. I mean, sometimes you just got to go with the talent, and I'm going to go with the talent because I think Jamar Chase is an elite talent. Similar to what John B said. I mean, you got to go with elite talent sometimes. Trevor Lawrence is an elite quarterback. You pick him. Jamar Chase is an elite receiver to me. I'm taking him number 1.
There you go. And I'm sitting here because you said it's kind of the landscape's kind of changing. I'm thinking of last year's draft though, like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Jonathan Stewart, J.K. Dobbins.
Yeah.
So as much as things change, they also stay the same.
Right.
And I think that's going to be the case again this year. And I'm watching the playoffs this weekend, and I think you made a point earlier that Buffalo, Kansas City, they didn't even throw the ball.
Or run the ball.
They didn't even run the ball, which concerns me for Clyde Edwards-Helaire. That's another show, another day. But I'm looking at that Buffalo team. I'm watching Devin Singletary drop passes. I mean, they got T.J. Yeldon out there. I mean, it's just baffling to me.
And even the Chiefs using Darrell Williams, just guys.
Yeah, just guys.
Yeah.
And there's 2 teams that I got my eye on who I think is going to be the number 1 pick. And I either think Buffalo at 30 or Pittsburgh at 23 in the 1st round are going to draft Najee Harris. That's going to be your number 1 pick. I'm looking at both these teams. I'd actually be more excited about them in Buffalo. I think the long term there with Josh Allen and that team. They desperately need a running back. And I actually expect them to pull the trigger on that. I think Pittsburgh's another team. Big Ben hasn't announced, that he's going to retire. We've seen in that playoff game, I think he threw the most completions ever in history. I mean, you've seen what happened to him down the stretch of the season. Pittsburgh Steelers last in yards per game, last in yards per carry. If you do want Big Ben to come back, I think Mike Tomlin and the guys got to get back to running the football. I think Najee Harris is it, man. I keep reading. I loved your Matt Forte comparison the more I've dove into it.
I think that was the Docs, actually.
Oh, was it?
Mine, ironically, was Le'Veon Bell.
And Bell, too. I mean, this guy's got hands. He's got size. He loves that screen pass. I keep thinking about a guy 6'2", 230 pounds, on a screen pass with, defensive backs trying to tackle him.
Hurting people.
Yeah, and then if you do go low on him, he'll hurdle you and go 6 feet over you. I think he lands in Pittsburgh or Buffalo. That's your number 1 pick in rookie drafts this year.
Do you think if they would have paid Antonio and Le'Veon that Steelers might have been in the Super Bowl this year? Because Le'Veon and Antonio are.
I don't know. I feel like, well, Antonio Brown still looks good, but Le'Veon Bell. That is crazy.
I think had they kept it together originally, they would have went to another one or two, but not at this point.
I hate to. Najee Harris. I do have one thing I really don't like about him. It's the same thing at the end. He's 23 right now. He's gonna be 23. I mean, that's old. I mean, I don't like seniors. You look at it. They're good enough to come out. They come out as juniors. Or sophomores. I'm thinking I might be going Javonte Williams wherever he lands. I just think he might be a better back.
Yeah, maybe I'm just looking at getting a Derrick Henry guy at 23.
But you're right that we're going to say all that we're going to say, but then when push comes to shove, it's going to be Najee Harris. Whoever ends up in Pittsburgh, whoever ends up in Buffalo, or that's who's going to be picked first.
I mean, and you're right, he is a little older. That's because he sat behind some, backs at Alabama. Right. He doesn't have Jonathan, Taylor type mileage on him at Alabama either.
Right. I feel
you're right. That's true. I just like the younger players.
That's fair.
Yeah, so I actually 100% agree with the younger player take. I usually not stay away from seniors, but overall I'm a big believer in, if you have it as a junior, you come out, cash in while you're young, because just the older you get, the less longevity you usually have in the NFL. But my guy for the number 1 pick breaks that mold a little bit. He's a senior, but just a phenomenal year, Devontae Smith. I will say he's a young senior, just turned 22 towards the end of the season, so he's still going to be 22 for the majority of his rookie season. But I mean, have we ever seen anything like it this year from a receiver? Just absolutely took college football up by storm, won the Heisman Trophy, just something almost impossible to do. He did it. We all know his frame is very slight. That's the biggest knock on him. He's about 6'1", 175 pounds. And that's a little scary, but I will say he's got the speed, he's got the route running, he's got the toe drag ability, getting 2 feet in already. He can run after the catch. And on our Dynasty Spotlight series, I said he reminds me of a young Stephon Diggs. Now Diggs has about 20 pounds on him, but coming out of Maryland, granted he was a 5th-round pick, Stephon Diggs was a skinny 6'1" playmaker. And I think if Devontae Smith can, grow the way that Stephon Diggs did, both as a player and just body-wise a little bit, put on 20 pounds, get to 195, he's going to be a tremendous receiver. He's faster than Diggs is, I believe. We'll see at the Combine for sure. Just a great playmaker. There's talk about him going number 3 to the Dolphins. Even though I don't love Tua as a passer, I do think that's an exciting spot, just teaming up with a college quarterback. And really, like Jamar Chase, anywhere he goes, I think he's going to be special. And I love them both, but I think I'd go Devontae Smith at the 1.1 over Jamar Chase. But I don't think you can go wrong there.
Yeah, and as much as I love Jamar Chase, it's hard for me to argue because in all honesty, I mean, Devontae Smith, I don't think I've ever seen a college player so dominant. Mm-hmm. I really can't think of one in my time that's been so dominant, just constantly making plays, and it was something to see. And I saw today earlier at the Senior Bowl they did measurements and he declined to be weighed. So that tells me someone's trying to pack on a little bit of weight, and he's also probably a little light. So I would assume at the Combine or whatever, the Pro Day for Alabama, you'll see him up a little bit. Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting to see how he plays with the added weight too. Right. But I don't really have any worries about him. As much as I love Jamar Chase, I mean, Devontae Smith's right there. Chase is just my guy. He's been my guy for 2 years, so that's why I'm sticking with him. But I mean, I can't say anything bad about Devontae Smith. The dude's incredible.
Speaking of the weight and the speed and stuff, I actually think it'd be smartest for Devontae Smith to add some weight ahead of the Combine, weigh in, and then decline to run the 40. Because we know he's fat. Because that's kind of, when they put on the weight, they run the slower 40, and it's kind of like, do you want to lose weight, run faster?
You know what? I've noticed that myself. I put on 20 pounds the last couple of years, and
slower
I'm
40.
slower than I was.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it could be a good business decision. Weigh in around 180, 185. because 170 is scary, but 185 I think people don't worry. Then he says, I'm gonna pass on the 40. I'll save it for my pro day when times are a little faster, and no one's gonna knock on him for not running a 40 because we've seen the blazing speed all year. But I think weight is the scary thing with Devontae Smith.
Yeah, Devontae, if you want, you can come hang out with me for a few weeks. We'll eat cheeseburgers every night, and then you just don't have to worry about running the 40 at all. We'll get that weight up, no doubt.
All right, good stuff, guys. There you go. There you go. We got 4 different takes on who we think is going to be the 1.1 pick. Would love to know who you think is going to be the 1.1 pick. Leave it in the comments. Or if you think one of us are right, we'd like to hear that too. Thank you so much for listening. Hit that like and subscribe button. Come be a part of the Masters family. Thanks, guys.